Who's this folder from yesterday? Who's this AFR folder from yesterday?
It's from the AFR audio from yesterday.
Yeah.
The SEC coaches teleconference.
Should be.
I don't know if that's like the whole thing. I'll bring it out.
There should be, well, there should be like Ed Ogeron cuts.
Yeah, there's 9 different cuts.
Okay, what are they titled?
On matchup with CMU. On Lou Nichols.
Okay.
Kevin Falk won't coach Saturday.
Yeah, I want that one.
Okay. I'll get to the next one. What does he want to see?
Yep, want that one.
From in terms of progress in defensive front. Ali Gay unavailable.
Maybe.
What he wants to see progress on offense.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to. I want it. What that? That's the one I want, not the other one.
Okay. Jay Ward out versus CMU.
No.
Play of safeties in Ward's absence.
No.
Did they overlook UCLA?
All right. Yeah. So Falk won't coach and wants to. What he wants to see on offense.
Sounds good. The first cut in that sequence, like numerically, is Falk won't coach.
Yeah.
If that's where you're starting, or BRPT.
Gotcha. Thank you. .606 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake Barty producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane.
and we are happy to be off and running on this Thursday morning. Got a lot of ground to cover today. Got a pretty stacked up guest list today. Patrick Grimion, host of the Patty G Show, going to be by in half an hour. Looking forward to that. Got a handful of topics to cover with Patrick Grimion. In our next hour, got the makeup D.C. Current. Yeah, we're going to get a mulligan on D.C. Current. Congressman Garret was en route back from Washington, D.C. When he was slated to be on with us yesterday. So he will be on with us today, in fact, at 7:15. 7:35, Crimestoppers time. We're going to be talking railway safety. It is that time of year. We do this once a year where we check in with the folks from the railroad crossings to make sure that we are abiding by what we should be doing. No accidents and whatnot. That's at 7:35. In the 8 o'clock hour, this one has piqued my interest for some time, and I cannot wait to dive in on it. LSU is teaming up with Louisiana State Police to fight against hacking, basically. They're training new cybersecurity professionals. The program's called Firestarter. They want to deploy the cyber range, and they're picking up state support to do it. Dr. Golden Richard is going to join us at 8:15 to talk about exactly that. Also, Ask the Governor was yesterday. We've got some audio from that to cover as well. Got some audio from Ed Ogeron. He was on the SEC Coaches Teleconference yesterday. We'll play that back for you in just a little bit. But first, got to start with the flooding. Nowhere near an area where we were in 2016 or even in May, where people were taking water into their homes. But street flooding yesterday got to be a real problem in a number of different areas. A lot of those areas around LSU. Nicholson, Highland, South Stadium Drive. The Tiger Stadium parking lot was completely underwater. The intersection where Nicholson breaks off by Burbank was completely underwater. When I was saying Nicholson and Highland a minute ago, those two streets in between LSU and downtown, underwater. Caused a little chaos, caused a little havoc, seeing a lot of people just stopped in the middle of the road, not going anywhere, or doing the right thing and turning around. I was on my way to LSU to produce the Ed Ogeron show yesterday, and was coming from downtown to LSU's campus. Running into problems on Nicholson, completely have to turn around because the water was deep enough to where it covered the top of the neutral ground as well. At that point, you can't tell how deep it is, so clearly turn around, right? So I turn around, go all the way back up to Terrace, hop on Terrace to Highland, get over on Highland. Traffic's a lot more backed up. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Anybody who's trying to get up Nicholson is going to now be trying to get up Highland. I started thinking about it as I made my turn on the Highland. I'm like, the street's called Highland. The neighborhood's called the Bottom. Which one of these two is going to win out? The Bottom. Got to around McKinley and underwater again. Turn around again. Hightail it back out. Hop up on I-10 and get off at Dalrymple to make my way into campus. Get on the campus. Everything looks good until you get to, the Tiger Walk, basically. Get around that roundabout. Head on down to the bottom of the hill. This makes sense again. You're on another bottom of the hill. Tiger Stadium's parking lot's flooded. South Stadium was flooded. It got nasty for a good while yesterday on the streets in Baton Rouge. And that's just one area. That's just around LSU. By the way, our news partners at WBRZ have a ton of great photos and video posted up on their website if you want to check out some of the flooding and how bad it got yesterday. And we're not quite done just yet. There is more rain to come in the forecast for today. I don't know that we're going to see more like we saw yesterday. But there is nonetheless more rain to come today. In fact, we're looking at a 70% chance of rain today. And it probably won't be till the afternoon hours. So we will have a little time to dry before that. But man, that got a little hairy for a little while yesterday.
I mean, let's hope it doesn't end up like yesterday.
Well, no, yeah, let's hope. Interestingly enough, though, coming home from LSU, I went up Acadian just to see if it was going to be blocked off by the underpass. Underpass looked good. That never happens. For what it's worth. All right, we are due up for our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little sports. Ed Ogeron was on the SEC Coaches Teleconference yesterday. He does that every Wednesday. We'll dive into that in just a little bit. Before we hit that break, though, got to ask how you're feeling. Any nagging injuries, any soreness, any pain, lower back, upper back, neck, knee, ankle, shoulder, head? No, not your head. Whatever your pain might be, whatever physical ailments you've got right now, whatever nagging injuries you've got right now, have you thought about physical therapy? I know most of us think about physical therapy when you're recovering from a major injury. But those nagging pains, like say you've got a desk job, right? And you're looking at your computer keyboard all day long. Then you have a weird crick in your neck. That sort of thing can be worked out with physical therapy. The folks at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy want to help you out. They've been around for 59 years. They know how to do what they're doing. They'll sit you down. They'll get to the root of your problem. They'll find your comfort level when it comes to therapy and work a program through you. Give them a call at 917-9185, 917-9185, or check them out online at brptlake.com. They've got 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area to help you out. Get back to being your best you with physical therapy and Baton Rouge Physical Therapy.
I don't know if you saw it anywhere on social media, but I had to drive into campus to get where I wanted to go, and like Astor in Alaska was completely shut off.
Yeah.
Like they were completely blocked off by cars. It was submerged in water. I saw people, like college students on Alaska and Astor, swimming in the water. And can't say I'm surprised because college town, but it's a bit daunting.
Floodwater's fun.
It's fun. It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
But I guess,
Especially in the city.
yeah, I can't. I don't consider myself much of a germaphobe, but even that, I'm like, jeez. Lord knows.
I honestly thought it wasn't going to stop raining last night. It was raining late. At least I thought it was.
Yeah.
When I woke up, I immediately walked outside to check the road to see if they were still flooded.
I couldn't sleep last night. I should have just come up to the station because I wasn't going to be able to sleep. Every time I heard the rain start back up again, I'm like, it's going to be flooded when I wake up and I'm not going to be able to get there.
What happens in that instance?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I don't know. It's I would call in, obviously, like probably do the whole show over the phone. But if neither one of us can get here, I have no clue.
Because, I mean, it's a live show.
Yeah,
You can't just,
I know.
I can't make today.
Right. I mean, if you get flooded in, then I do both jobs. I go over that side, do the best I can. If I can't come in, I'll call in, and we'll just make it work. We'll figure out how to make it work. Yeah, if you're like in the suburbs somewhere or out in the country somewhere, playing in floodwater can be fun because it's just fresh rainwater sitting on the ground. But if you got that sewer water all over the place, I mean, how many stories have we done on this station about LSU researching the Dookie water to find COVID?
I've been here for less than a month and too many.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh, popping out of the shirt. I need bigger sleeves. Yeah. Shirt's kind of skinnier arms. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. One more quick note on the flooding from yesterday. Got got to poke a little jab at LSU quarterback Miles Brennan. He's on the shelf right now, still hurt and whatnot, right? But we all remember before the season started, Miles Brennan landed that NIL deal with Robinson Brothers Ford, got himself an F-250 diesel. Big truck, powerful truck, right? Well, yesterday during the flood, Miles posted on Twitter a little video of two trucks making their way through floodwater. One was a Chevy, one was a Dodge Ram. Step it up, Miles. If you're going to say, that Dodge Ram gets you through floodwater just fine. I drive a Dodge Ram. I put up a wake in a no-wake zone. I mean, this Dodge Ram just plowing right through the water. Poor Chevy is on the side of the road just kind of getting beat up by the waves from the Dodge Ram. I mean, Miles, if you're going to do that, hand your phone off to somebody else and put your F-250 in it so it doesn't look like the Dodge Ram is the hero. That's all I'm saying. Like, make it look like your truck, the Ford F-250 that you can get over at Robinson Brothers. Earn your keep, bud. Earn your keep, man. You're on the shelf right now anyway. I'm not recommending driving through floodwater. But if you've got an NIL deal. All right, Ed Ogeron met with the media yesterday. Actually, the SEC coaches teleconference. This happens every Wednesday throughout the college football season. We've actually got to start off on a sad note. LSU still dealing with a number of injuries. A number of players won't be out on the field on Saturday, but even to go from missing players to missing a coach means going from injury to just tragedy, as Kevin Falk won't be coaching this weekend.
Obviously, we put Coach Falk and his family first. Everybody here is sick to their stomach. Feel bad for Coach Falk. He's a great man, great family. I couldn't imagine the pain that they're going through. So right now, Coach Falk is with his family. I told him to take his time, do whatever he needs to do. He's a Tiger. I don't expect him to be here Saturday. I expect him to take his time and take care of his family first.
I think everybody echoes that sentiment. Always take care of family first. And they do have, you know, if there's one thing about the Ed Ogeron era, that sense of family, you ask any recruit's family why they chose LSU over Alabama or whatever other school might have been in the running, and you walk away feeling like family. And that will carry out in the worst times as well as the best times. What does Ed Ogeron want to see on offense? How does the offense need to improve from week 2 to week 3?
Consistency, different tempos of the offense, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, not as much lookovers, be more decisive. I think we need to put our players in better position, give the ball to our playmakers in space and let them make plays. We need to block better up front. We need to have better schemes. We need to run the ball better and protect. There's a lot of things on offense that need to be fixed right now.
The only thing I took away from that was less lookovers, fewer lookovers. The check with me's, they got to go. LSU, Central Michigan, 6:30 on Saturday. You'll hear it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame starts at 1:30. Here comes the Fox Business Report. Yes. From your standpoint, yes. The report itself is 60 seconds with a 30-second commercial on the back end. All right. Hot in here today.
I don't know who or why they unplugged that fan. There's a fan.
I think because Chuck used it the other night upstairs. background. The mic's picking up. Do what?
I still need to set up my lineup for this week.
Yeah.
You know who plays today?
What, tonight?
Yeah.
College or pro?
Pro.
Pro, you're talking fantasy. Who is playing tonight? I can look it
None
up.
of my players, it appears.
No, it's NFC East. Giants and football team.
Heavyweight classic right there to kick off Thursday.
Yeah, nobody's got any players tonight unless you got Saquon Barkley.
Or football team defense. Started pretty bad. I have both Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall. I can't decide if I want to start them against the Saints this week since we're missing like our entire secondary. When we signed Stills, Adipo looks great.
I haven't even hopped in on YouTube yet.
Usual suspects.
Okay. Eric got power. Morning, Renee. All right. .624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Keeping it LSU related in this segment. Although I should go back and clarify. I was just working under the assumption that everyone had caught the news. I did not clarify why Kevin Falk would not be coaching this weekend. If you missed it earlier in the week, Kevin Falk's daughter passed away. It was a pretty big story, a couple days ago, Monday or Tuesday. Was when we were reporting on it. But, yeah, if you'd missed out on that, Kevin Falk's 19-year-old daughter passed away earlier this week, and that is why everyone's heart is going out to the Falk family, and condolences are going out to the Falk family, and why Kevin Falk will not be coaching this weekend. 19-year-old daughter. 19, man. That's I don't know, words escape me. So, keeping it with LSU, there is a lot being said about their COVID protocols from last weekend. Probably too much at this point because it's looking like it's going to be a lot tougher for this weekend. But before we get to that, LSU's president went to the White House yesterday. William Tate met with President Biden and the COVID response team. I'm sorry, he went Tuesday. briefed them on the school's multi-tiered approach of COVID. Was it Tuesday or yesterday? I thought it was yesterday. Briefed them on the multi-tiered approach for COVID mitigation and the vaccination requirements on campus. It looks like 70-some-odd students are going to be de-enrolled or unenrolled or dismissed, however you want to phrase it. LSU, of every university in the country, LSU was the only one out there who made the cut to go see the president. Dr. William Tate says the president was interested in the school's approach and how it changed their vaccination rates, getting them up.
What we saw, and each time we added a requirement, the vaccination numbers went up to our current status of 82% of our student body being vaccinated and 72% of our faculty and staff.
Curious about that. 82% of the student body, 72% of the faculty and staff. That's going to stand out to me. Because the student body, assuming, I'm sure there's non-traditional students as well, but the student body, by and large, is younger than the faculty and staff. And even with the downturn in age of what the Delta variant affects, you're still going to have less effect among college students than you are among faculty and staff. Why is the number lower for faculty and staff than it is for students? Tate says Biden was interested, the president was interested in how the school moved the needle when it came to vaccination rates, and there's a reason LSU was asked to attend the meeting.
If you juxtapose LSU's vaccination rates with the surrounding community or the state of Louisiana or other SEC schools, LSU finds itself at the top.
But that's true everywhere, isn't it? Or are other universities, other institutes of higher learning having trouble getting people to get vaccinated? Is LSU really that much farther out than everybody else when it comes to colleges and vaccinations? Now that the Pfizer vaccine has the full FDA approval as opposed to the emergency authorization, students are required to submit proof of vaccination or agree to regular COVID testing. Tate says there were 78 students, or there are 78 students, who had yet to file the paperwork. He is hopeful to get that number completely done before having to dismiss students altogether.
99.999% of our population is compliant with the requirements, and I'm very comfortable saying that I think we'll be able to get across the finish line with the remainder of the students we have.
There'll be holdouts. There's never going to be 100%. He can be as confident as he wants to. There's going to be defiant holdouts. If for no other reason, they'll want to garner headlines. I mean, I'm actually surprised the number's that low. 78. I'm surprised the number is that low to where you would have 78 is. I'm surprised the number's that low to where it's 6.5 dozen, right? Out of more than 30,000 students that wouldn't want to dig their heels in and make a point, make a stand. It's not like anyone of a college age doesn't ever want to have some kind of cause they want to champion. By the way, LSU is one of the first schools in the country to require either proof of vaccination or a recent COVID test to attend football games on campus. So, either way, and forget your politics for 1 minute, forget where you're at on the vaccinations for 1 minute. Even if you think like this, even if you think the mandate is a wrong way to do this, it's still nice to see LSU recognized for getting it done. I mean, even if you might not be on board with the take of having required vaccines, but they're doing it effectively. For what it's worth. All right. We're going to check in with Patrick Gremion in our next segment. Got to take a break, though. Check news right here. In fact, CBS News coming your way right now on Talk 107.3. Let me go see if Patty G is here. No. I'm all right. Can't get rid of this stomach thing where the nausea.
Yeah,
Cannot for the life of me figure it out.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Are you like snacking during the day?
No. No, I'm not sleeping at night. I know that.
Mm.
I mean, like, I'll fall asleep, like, the second my head hits the pillow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll wake up about an hour and a half later, and I'll feel completely rested. Completely rested.
After an hour and a half?
Yeah.
That's weird, dude.
I know.
Your sleep cycle resets every hour and a half.
So, yeah, and, like, I'm getting, like, I feel like it's really good sleep, and then, I don't know, like, 4 or 5 hours later, I'm like, God, I'm tired again.
That's really weird.
Yeah. I'm just appreciative that I'm able to get that hour and a half.
So like, but then you're done.
But it I know it's all up here because it's like last night. I go to sleep, it starts raining, I wake up. I fall back asleep again, it starts raining again, I wake up because I'm thinking, holy shit, I'm not gonna be able to get to the station in the morning. It's gonna be flooded. Like, Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that mind is a wonderful, powerful thing.
No. I need to. We need to put a name on this thing,
Okay.
because we're about to start doing it as a podcast. So, like,
Oh, we are?
yeah, it's going to be pulled out as its own thing.
Okay.
So what I've got going on in my head,
Mhm.
Down to Business, is just what it be called.
Down the business.
Is that cool?
Yeah,
Okay.
that should work.
What?
All I can think of is the theme song from Mulan. Let's get down to business
Closer.
to defeat the Han. Oh, you can play that in the background.
Well, actually, it's Tiesto.
Tiesto.
Yeah. Here.
You lost me on that one.
You don't listen to a lot of EDM.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I do.
Is that your workout tunes?
Yeah.
See, I don't work out to like anything. Like I don't run with music. I don't run with music. I don't ride with music. I'm weird, man.
I feel like music, it makes everything better. I don't know, when you have like that song that you just rock with that hard,
Oh, so we're gonna play that.
Yeah, but once the music's in.
Works for me.
But it's going to be mixed in with a couple of other things. I've got it. It's all mapped out in my head.
Yeah, McLaren's coming out.
Cool.
Down to business, like goose down in some vests. I like it.
Yes.
It's almost vest weather, Byron.
I need to
I'm
make
getting
sure.
excited.
I need to make sure there's no other podcast with that name already. And by the way, good morning, Byron, and good morning, Tiffany. Matherns, you said? Okay.
Down to business, the podcast.
Yeah, I haven't looked it up to see if there's any other podcast with that name.
I'm looking it up right now. Mm-hmm. There is.
Shoot. Canadian. Then we're fine. 637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Every week at this time we welcome in the host of the Patty G Show, Patrick Gremion. What's happening, dude?
Good morning, Brian. What's happening? I'm doing well, doing very well. We just reached episode 100 last
I know,
night.
kind of a milestone. We'll talk about that on the back end for sure.
All right.
So we will cover that a little bit later on within the segment. Every week we talk business, we talk culture, we talk social media, we talk adapting to the way business is changing, and that is no different today. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about this morning was a story I did, I guess it was about a week or so ago, with ExxonMobil.
Yes.
They are changing and adapting the way kids are learning as well. And you had shared a story with me about it. It says local high school students learn trade crafts at Baton Rouge's ExxonMobil is the headline from The Advocate. Jaden Moody, now in her senior year at Estruma High School, considered becoming a nurse, but now she's leaning towards engineering, either audio or mechanical. Moody, 18, is one of a half-dozen students who spent several weeks this summer behind the fence line at ExxonMobil for a new internship program. I had Jaden on the show about 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yes.
How was that?
Yes. Fantastic. Fantastic. You want to talk about clarifying your future? This internship program, and internships in general is basically where we're going here. This internship program is really putting a younger or putting eyes on the future for folks a little bit younger. I had no idea what the actual applications of what people did in the business world were when I was in high school. Once I got to college, I got on, started seeking out internships. But the thought of doing that in high school is fantastic.
The thought of having the ability to do that in high school is fantastic. The
Yeah.
thought of having a local company, a local large, extremely large
Worldwide,
organization,
yes.
a global company that wants to invest in a local community because they're not they're not dumb. They're pretty smart to have gotten where they are. They see the labor shortages that are happening. They're seeing people are going to college for X, Y, and Z, but no one is really looking into trade. And so they said, we need to resolve this issue because we're going to have a staffing shortage.
Yeah.
And we're here in Baton Rouge. What more of a better way than to reach kids when they're in high school and say, hey, have you thought about your future? Have you thought about your career? Have you thought about what you want to be in 20 years? Well, why don't you come and hang with us, do an internship with us, and maybe we can kind of direct and guide you. But at the same breath, if not, thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Worst case scenario, you have a wonderful summer.
Exactly. You have a wonderful summer. You meet wonderful people. I mean, the biggest thing in a high school is trying to network and start to meet people at such a young age and say, hey, what can I do to help? Can I go grab you coffee, Brian? Like, can I intern and shadow you and just grab you coffee in the morning?
Now, to be fair, this isn't that.
No, this
was
way
very real,
more involved,
right?
Which is even better. I'm just saying for those people that may not want to go through a trade situation like this, but no, this is really awesome. Getting them hands-on experience, getting them, like they said in the article, behind the fence in ExxonMobil, actually doing work is really incredible, and it's all local. You know, they're not bringing in kids from out of state. They're not looking out of state. They're looking here in the community.
Now, this is something that Dr. Cito Narcisse, EBR's Superintendent of Education, and Dr. Cade Brumley, the State Superintendent of Education, both have a focus on getting kids more career-minded at a younger age. Like, as education has evolved in America, we've gotten away from trades to just going to college. We've gotten away from going to college to learn a trade, to going to college to learn whatever non-applicable skills, I guess would be the way to describe it.
Well,
I don't want to say wasted degrees.
Yeah.
But
I understand what you're
non-applicable
saying.
skills.
I understand what
I
you're
mean, there's accounting, there's business, there's marketing, there's broadcast, there's journalism, but like there's a million different things you can learn. There's a million different engineering fields you can learn, but there's also like you could study like the history of leprechauns and get yourself nowhere.
And then go and get your master's.
Right, in the
And then
same
go
thing.
get your PhD.
Right, and then all of a sudden you're looking at why do I have $400,000 worth of debt and student loans?
And I'm 30, 35.
Right, and I could do nothing but teach other kids that want to get on the same path to learn about the history of leprechauns.
Right.
And I know I'm exaggerating. That's the
yeah.
point.
Right.
But that's the point. And so you end up in a path where it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? And this is dialing it all the way back to the beginning and saying, hey, maybe start thinking about putting a direction on it.
Right. Maybe don't start going in as an undecided major, an undeclared major in LSU. Maybe say, hey, I did an internship with ExxonMobil, and I know I don't like engineering.
Right.
Let me try the business side of things because I saw people doing that in the plant, and I loved it. I was very excited and intrigued by it. I was able to talk with them and ask them about their day-to-day lives.
So one of the things that I had a concern about when you do this is, are you stopping kids from dreaming big and creating drones? Like if you're career focused at 18, 17, 16 years old, if you're career focused that young, where's the big idea? Where's the dream? Where's the person who's going to change the world? And the way it was explained to me was, and I can buy this. You can't know how to make something better until you know how something works.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And also, I don't think that they're boxing them in to having to then come and work for Exxon at the end of it. They're saying, come get this experience. It may not be for you. You may realize, oh, I know how to solve the solution better. I'll go off and dream big. Or, this is perfect for me. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm still going to have a concern, though, of the concept of sunk cost.
Yeah.
If I have a summer at 17 and then a summer at 18, and then when I decide what I want to major in, well, I already did that, so I guess I'll major in that. Do you have a passion for it? No, but I've invested so much. And then, you wake up one day in your late 30s and you're like, God, I hate my life.
But is 2 summers at 17 and 18 really investing so much?
It's a significant chunk of your life at that point.
At that point, right.
Yeah. Nobody's going to have the kind of foresight to say, well, it was just 2 summers or it was just a couple semesters, because this runs concurrently with the school year. It's not just like a summer internship. So,
Yeah.
But my point is, your viewpoint at that age is not your viewpoint midway through your career. So, I don't know. There is still a worry that I have that like some kids will get lost in the wash. I think overall it's going to be better for everybody.
There will be some kids getting lost in the wash, like you said, but there's also that mentor that they have in this program, right? So they're paired with an Exxon employee throughout the duration of this internship. So they have the ability, if they're really, bright and they want to get out what they put in, they're going to be asking questions left and right of that Exxon employee. Hey, how long have you been here? What's that been like? How has your career progressed? Did you think you were going to be doing this? Et cetera, et cetera. And that is where I think they're going to be able to leverage and have the most educational foresight moving forward.
We got a little bit less than a minute till break. When we come back from the break, you had shared an article with me that I dove into and got a lot out of. Mark Cuban sharing advice with entrepreneurs about getting through the pandemic. We're going to dive into that. And, of course, the 100th episode of the Patty G Show is in the can.
In the can. Done.
Released
Recorded.
yet?
Not yet.
Okay. We'll talk about that a little bit next as well. Oh, plus LSU releasing their top Tiger businesses, the Roaring 10, the top 100.
LSU 100, baby.
Yeah, LSU 100. We're going to talk about that. We've got a few names on there that actually hit home.
Yeah.
So we'll dive into that when we come back. Going to take a quick break. We'll check your money now, traffic, the works. Coming back, Patrick Grimion's in on Talk 107.3. I was leaving myself room to get the Matherns in on the back end of the break. All right.
So,
I have to get permission to air this week's episode.
why? Oh, yeah.
You want me to kill Mike?
Yeah, please.
So in reading through these on Inc.com,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny because we've touched on all of this throughout this entire pandemic.
Yeah,
Like, we've touched on all of this.
that's exactly where I was going with that. Is
Do you even want me to bump you in if you're just doing the?
no, it's just me cold, and I'll walk it all the way up to 50. I completely forgot Simone Biles was involved in the Larry Nassar thing. Completely changed his perspective on her walking away from the Olympics.
So,
Forgot all about that. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Hey, we're not mentioning him at all. Heading out to the game this weekend. Tailgating this weekend. Where are you stopping off for all your goods, groceries? Where are you stopping off for your beer? How about Mathern's Supermarket right there on campus? Nicholson and Skip Berman Drive, right across the street from Tiger Stadium. Great craft beer selection, great overall beer selection. They've got you covered for game day. They got you covered throughout the week as well. Need to swing by for lunch? Need to swing by for your groceries? Mathern's on Nicholson and Skip Berman Drive. You also got it downtown on 3rd Street. Both locations of Mathern's, full-service grocery stores. But when it comes time for game day, if you're heading out to campus, if you're one of those folks that just hops from tailgate to tailgate, swing by Mathern's and grab yourself something to go. I grabbed some buffalo wings last week. Oh, so good. Actually, the barbecue ones were better than the buffalo ones. But both locations of Mathern's are here for you, but especially Nicholson at Skip Bourbon Drive and the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Make it a regular stop on your game day. Mathern's.
yeah, how's been y'all's little podcast network thing?
Hmm?
Y'all's little podcast network?
Yeah, I'm not dialed in yet. I'll get my feet underneath me more. It's been a lot more of the sports guys bringing in bigger sports names so far. And then there's the Dungeons and Dragons thing that they do,
Yeah.
which apparently has a lot of appeal.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
there's a
I'm completely in the dark
Whole-
on it.
yeah.
I know. Not my market. What's the, what was it? Not my pig, not my farm? That's totally where we're at.
sounds about right. I mean, hey,
But like T-Bob and Chuck P and some of the Gatorworks folks, they're all in. And first of all, good on them for recognizing the niche, right? I mean, there's never going to be a day where I wake up and say, you know what? I want to learn more about Dungeons and Dragons. That's just not going to happen. But they're in it, so hey, have fun. You know,
and from the little knowledge that I have about it and listening to like an episode or two, whoever they have emceeing it, or as the DM as they call it, the Dungeon Master, it's awesome.
oh sweet God,
Why?
the Dungeon Master.
That's what they call him. I mean, it's really just
Yeah,
telling
no.
the
What
stories
kind
and,
of
like,
off
all-
Bourbon Street club are you hanging out at? Jeez, and criminies. There's actually, I don't know if it's still there. There used to be a place called the Dungeon. We never went in there. It scared me to walk past it. The Dungeon Master.
master of your domain.
Whew. 652, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Patrick Grimion in. He's the host of the Patty G Show. Joins us every Thursday to talk a little business, talk a little culture, talk a little social media, and what's trending in business. And this week, one of the things that was trending was Mark Cuban giving advice to entrepreneurs on how to get through the pandemic. You had shared this article with me earlier in the week, and once I dug in, I couldn't help but notice the similarities to the same things that you and I have been talking about for the last 19 months now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's remarkable.
It's mostly just common sense. When you get down to it and you break it down, it's hopeful.
Okay.
Hopeful common sense in a business owner's mind. Like if you're looking at it thinking you can beat it and go around it and just keep pushing on as you've been doing,
right?
It's not going to happen.
Okay. But I mean, is it common sense to say the first thing Mark Cuban had to say, be agile.
Right.
Okay, so to me that flies in the face of common sense.
It does.
Common sense is double down, work harder. But this is about working smarter.
Right.
While no one could have seen COVID-19 coming, Cuban says, continuing to adapt is what helps you keep going. This is a matter of, like, I hate talking about restaurants. We always talk about restaurants when we talk about the pandemic, but it comes back around to that. Shifting your model to more of a to-go model. Shifting your model to where you don't have to have 100% capacity in order to turn a profit. Or, if you're every other business under the sun, shifting your model to where you have more flex time and employees can work from home. Shifting your model of what you do from whatever you did before the pandemic to you see somebody else do something, adapt to them.
Right. Like
keep up with your competition.
Like Calandros having curbside delivery of your groceries.
Mathern's does that as well. The Mathern's app, yeah, the Mathern's app is so convenient.
Like it's simple stuff like that. You could have been doing all this time as a little convenience factor that COVID said, hey, be agile. Now you got to change things up a bit. You can't have everybody in your store, 100 people in your store at one time.
Right.
Well, now we've got to figure out we have staff that are sitting there. They still need to be employed. Why can't, instead of, always restocking shelves, why don't they take stuff off and bring them to customers that are waiting in the parking lot?
Right.
You're keeping everybody safe, and you're also still employing your staff to the fullest extent you can.
Absolutely. Communicate honestly and authentically. Customers and clients will respect you more if you're open about the challenges your business is facing. This is one that not nearly enough businesses do. And I think we're at a weird spot because there are so many people who are so worried that if they make the slightest mistake, like I want my money back. I want to speak to the manager. Like we're all worried about that scenario that nobody wants to say, look, when you first walk through the door, you don't want to say, hey, it's going to be about 30 minutes before I can even get to you. And I'm not even talking about restaurants. I'm talking about whatever you're doing. I am so stacked up right now. I'm so far behind. I can't get to you right away. You don't say that up front because you're worried they're going to walk back out the door again and you're going to lose that business. But that level of honesty, let me know what my finish line, as a customer, let me know where the finish line is, and I'll get there with you. Yeah. Like there's a level of teamwork in that business relationship in all facets of business.
Yeah, and going back to the restaurant example, if they walk in and said, "Look, we're a 2-hour wait," sorry, that's where we're at, or hey, we're not taking reservations.
Yeah,
it's a first come first serve. Or right after Ida, you had Superior on Highland say, "We're not doing to-go orders. We can't meet the demand of the inside restaurant. We're not going to do to-go."
Yeah,
and it's being open and honest, and you're like, "Well, this is a bummer, but all right, thanks for letting me know."
The problem though is there is that contingent that has to have everything. Like all businesses cater to them.
Yeah.
That entitlement mentality.
You're going to have that in whatever field you're in.
Well, you were going to have that whether you're honest with them or not.
Right. We could come in, for an accounting firm and say, "Hey, all right, we're just going to be a little while before we can see you," or "Hey, we may not be able to get this filed on time." Well, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Well, because we have a whole list of X, Y, and Z that's happening. It's just sometimes it's really impossible.
I love the fact that we're getting further and further down the road. And the pandemic kind of screwed this up because we were getting there before the pandemic, but we're getting further down the road where firing customers is a real possibility.
You have to. When it comes down to your staff being mistreated by customers, you have to have a conversation as a superior in the company with that customer or client or whomever it may be and say, "Look, we can no longer do business with you. You are treating our staff a certain way that we're not allowing anymore. We were hoping you were going to maybe turn a new leaf, change your ways, but you didn't. So, unfortunately, we can no longer do business with you. Sorry." And sometimes you have to do that, and now more than ever, I think superiors and managers are recognizing the impact it had on employees.
I don't know how the airlines get away with it when everybody else can't. There's so many problems with firing customers, but to see people like in line for an airplane, sorry, you just can't go. Well, what do you mean I can't go? Wait,
Yeah.
I have to get there. I need you. Yeah, you need me, but you're going to be entitled from the start, so no. There's a part of me that I would like to see that translate to every business on the planet, just to be able to say, no, this is a cooperative endeavor here. This is a partnership. A sales transaction is not as one-sided as it used to be. Yeah. I don't have to sell to you, but I'm the customer. No, not yet. You're not. I haven't taken a dime from you. You're not anybody yet.
You haven't swiped that card. I have no cash in hand. Right now, you're just a person perusing.
Yep. Yeah. Up until that moment of transaction, you're a loiterer.
That's right. You're not supposed to be parking your car here according to the signs in our parking lot.
I mean, what it is. But yeah, it's to see more balance in the equation, to see less friction from the entitlement mentality. That would be a good thing. Hey, we got less than a minute to go. Monumental episode or monumental time for the Patty G Show. You've reached your 100th episode.
100th episode, yeah.
And an old friend of ours is on the show this week. A former employee from up here, Jordy Collada, is this week's guest. Hadn't seen my boy in a couple weeks. He's doing good?
He's doing well. Still good. Spitfire, still a ball of energy.
No kidding, right? Some things will never change. You can get the Patty G Show basically everywhere you get podcasts. You can check out the Patty G Show Saturday nights and our Saturdays on Demand segment as well, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. How many? What's next after 100? You going another 100, or it's time to pivot?
I think we're gonna keep going. We're gonna pivot our scenery though.
Ooh,
so
curious.
Stay tuned.
All right, Patrick Grimion, we always appreciate the time, man. We get the CBS World News Roundup coming your way right now on Talk 107.3.
Yeah, like legit, all four of his comments from Mark is like.
What? Oh, yeah. The other two as well. I know.
Yeah, like the other two, like love your product, keep up with the future, like that stuff we've been saying for the for the last 18 months, like you said. Breaking toilets. Who's breaking toilets?
Oh, I got to go back and let's see. Clinton says, I apologize for being out of the loop for a while, but what happened to Taylor? First of all, don't apologize, Clinton. And Taylor actually moved on to a full-time gig here. He was part-time before. He is full-time now, and he has moved on to more of a video producer role. So he's learning a whole new skill set, but he had to move on from this show in order to make room for the rest of it. But say hello to Jake.
You're stuck with me now.
Yep. For now. I'm just kidding. Don't think of that.
Until he drives you away.
The guys that hook us up around in Missouri also. Cool. Bad juju, disparaging leprechauns. Don't be surprised if your Lucky Charms tastes different. God, I miss Lucky Charms. I haven't had Lucky Charms since I started on the diet. Ghost Slim has really good cereal.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I hate almond milk, and they recommend, stay away from dairy.
I can't do almond milk.
I know. I'm like,
even
no.
like a vanilla flavor, I can't do almond milk.
Yeah.
It's just, no.
Well, it's healthier, but you got unless you want it sweetened. I mean, and then you're trading off lactose for sucrose. So, Troy says, anyone have a spare University of Phoenix Spring 22 class catalog? Thinking of a return to major in romantic languages. Explain to Patrick what's a catalog. It's like the internet made from a tree.
I know what a catalog is. They had that digitally at LSU when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
They still called it the LSU catalog. It was just online. Not in the books.
Proper response. Not my clown, not my circus.
That's a good one. Bless you.
Thank you.
The Dungeon Master conducts the game, is responsible for the storytelling and random encounters besides what is written in the story. I'm so lost. I have no clue, man. So they tell stories?
I've never played before, but I know I have friends that do. I know it's
You can admit
mostly
it's fine.
imagination.
It's
I won't judge you
it's
much.
an RPG.
A
Role-playing
rocket-propelled
game.
grenade?
Role-playing game. You assume the roles of the character, embark on a journey, go down quests, conquer the world.
Yeah, I got nothing. It gives fantasy football a bad name because it makes it sound like fantasy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I ran into Jordy a couple weeks ago at Phil's Oyster Bar. Imagine that.
Shocking.
And I know, but I need to like sit down, break bread, catch a meal, catch up with him.
Eat some oysters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was meeting with some other folks. Oh, just meeting with my new bank sponsor.
Scott?
Mm-hmm.
Scott.
He's still not signed up. When's the open date? Do you know?
They already opened.
Currency opened?
Open Tuesday.
Really?
Yep.
That's probably why I haven't heard from him all week long.
Yeah.
He's actually working now.
Actually running a bank now.
Well, then it's time to get started. Shit, we should have gotten started 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go dump out the rest of this coffee.
You got a new coffee maker yet? Y'all still?
Yeah, we got a new coffee maker.
What?
It's hot for minutes.
Nice. All right, well, I'll see y'all boys later. See you, man. Y'all have a good one. You too.
Hey, my phone holder! I've been looking for this for like 4 weeks now. Look at that! Hey, Leorsino. Gotcha. .706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake producing. Thanks again to Patrick Grimion for hopping on for another wonderful segment on business. And that Mark Cuban story is going to stick with me for a while because literally we've been talking about this since the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, these are things that folks have been adapting to, and not just with Patty G, but like every time we have Adam Knapp from the Chamber on or Stephen Wagasback from LABI on, the same themes, the same patterns keep coming up. What businesses need to be doing. Agility. Don't dig your heels in. Don't say, this is what I do, this is the way I've always done it, this is how I'm going to die doing it. No. You're either growing or you're dying. And this pandemic has really brought that to light for a lot of businesses. So, anyway, anything you missed on the show, you can find on demand at talk1073.com, talk1073.com, or on the app, brought to you by Gregory Ricks and Associates. And don't forget, you can hear Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks weeknights at 7 right here on Talk 107.3 FM. All right, still to come this hour in our next segment, Congressman Garret Graves is hopping on board. We weren't able to do D.C. Current yesterday. He was in transit on the way back from Washington, D.C. Welcomed him home with nice flooded streets. But we're going to have a little mulligan. We'll make that up today. Also this hour, Crimestoppers coming your way. We're going to talk a little railroad safety as well. How are we doing when it comes to the railroad crossings? That's still to come this hour. Right now, though, it's time for top stories and trending. Let's hit it. Oh, the fraternities are back on the parade grounds as of this weekend. Yes, sir. For the first time, grabbing this from Caroline Savoy at The Advocate, for the first time since LSU banned Greek chapters from partying on the campus parade grounds back in 2018, fraternities are set to return to the tradition for Saturday's game against Central Michigan. LSU enforced stricter Greek policies after Max Groover's hazing death in 2017, but the school ultimately banned chapters from the parade grounds after security companies refused to service their tailgates. LSU spokesman Ernie Ballard said the universities offered fraternities the opportunity to tailgate on the parade ground before this season started, but they stuck with being over near U High for the first home game. Haley Arsenault's in space, y'all. I mean, that's a weird sentence to say. Haley Arsenault becomes the youngest American in space today, also the first cancer survivor in space, with the launch last night of the latest SpaceX mission. The story reads, life hasn't always been easy for 29-year-old Haley Arsenault. At 10, she was diagnosed with bone cancer. Quote, when I got that bone cancer diagnosis, I was so scared. After the doctor told me I had cancer, I just kept saying, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. And at age 10, everyone I knew with cancer had passed away. Arsenault spent a year at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis undergoing rigorous chemotherapy treatments and surgery. Last night, she launched into space. Brief scare at Cedar Crest Southmore Elementary yesterday. They dismissed students early. An odor briefly forced administrators to clear out a school building. A spokesperson for the Baton Rouge Fire Department said students at Cedar Crest Southmore Elementary School were relocated after an employee smelled what seemed to be natural gas. Officials later said it appeared the smell was coming from a faulty AC unit. The natural gas supply to that unit was shut off by an employee. There was no significant amount of natural gas in the air, the department said. Classes resumed after the school received the all-clear from the fire department. The school system later said it was dismissing the school shortly after 1:30 p.m. Help is on the way from FEMA today. Sorry for the unfortunate rhyme. A threat from Nicholas moving out of town, and the focus is returning to Hurricane Ida recovery. FEMA is posting up that MRIC, Mobile Registration Intake Center. They were supposed to open at the Goodwood Library yesterday. Instead, they are opening today at the main branch of the library on Goodwood. They're going to be open every day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 7 days a week, all the way up until September 29th. If you've got problems with FEMA, if you've run into application problems or whatever the case might be, this is where you want to go to sit down with somebody and go over it face-to-face. There's an appeals process with FEMA. This is better than that. This is getting the answers to the questions as you ask them, as opposed to trading emails back and forth and thinking of one thing at a time. You can hammer through all of it. LSU begins unenrolling students who did not comply with the COVID entry protocols. Hours after the school said they were trying to avoid kicking out students who didn't abide by the students' university entry protocols, the school now says they've begun unenrolling dozens of students who refuse to comply. An LSU spokesperson says 78 students received notices Wednesday evening saying they were being resigned from the school and given a 50% refund. It's like 2 weeks into the semester, minus the week for Ida? Bro, what's the first 2 weeks that cost the most? I guess so. The alert added that students have until 4 p.m. September 17th to complete registration and be readmitted into their courses. So this is like your last chance. Get your COVID restrictions in. And what's today? The 16th? So they've got until tomorrow to get this done. LSU first threatened to kick students out last week if they didn't complete the online entry process by September 10th. That process included notifying the university of their vaccination status and submitting proof of a recent COVID test. The number is at 78. I'm actually surprised it's that low. That's a look at your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. We talked about it a little last hour. LSU President Dr. William Tate visited the White House yesterday. It's kind of a big deal. LSU was one of the first in the country to require proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test to be able to attend any home football games or attend class for that matter. On top of giving its students a deadline to get their first shot or provide proof of a negative test. Yesterday, the White House applauded those decisions. LSU's been praised for setting the bar for other universities with its measures to combat COVID-19 on campus. President Biden recognized the school's actions by inviting President William Tate to the White House. The meeting also included representatives from large companies like Disney and Microsoft. Tate was the only one from the higher education world that was in on that meeting. They're fixated on the mandate here, but it's not the mandate that's impressive from LSU. Anybody can slap that down. It's the diverse way in which they're approaching COVID that ought to garner the attention. How many times, I know it's gross, how many times have we talked about the Dookie water? The research into the wastewater to narrow down where COVID might be, it's like contact tracing through wastewater. That is innovative. It's forward thinking. You can circle the wagons around one dorm. Not to mention what LSU Health has been doing when it comes to treatments. Everything from the proning early on to the antibody treatments. LSU's been across the board. Fixating on this one thing, dare I say, is unhealthy. But kudos to LSU for being out in front on anything. I just think it should be such a broader scope of the number of different aspects with which LSU has attacked this thing. The pods on campus for testing early on. So many different ways LSU has led the nation in combating COVID-19. To fixate on, well, they kicked out a bunch of students. It's not the important part. It's not about the 78 kids that aren't going back to school right now. It's about the thousands that they've gotten in front of with different innovative ways of going about this without infringing on anyone's rights. We can have the rights argument another time. That's top stories and trending. We got to take a quick break. When we come back from that break, Congressman Garret Graves is going to be in for D.C. Current. We do it every Wednesday. This week we got to do it on a Thursday. The Congressman was unavailable this week. Tell you what, I'm running long, so let's go ahead and take that break now. We'll check traffic, and then D.C. Current coming up next on Talk 107.3. I'll hit complete collision a little later. I'll hit complete collision a little bit later. Yeah. Do what? Ooh, yeah. I will try to let Garret give him the last 2 minutes leading up. Normally when we have the Congressman on, we're out for 7:50. And I know I have room to either, if I miss that Your Money Now, we can make it up in the 8 o'clock hour. Can't miss CBS. Well, technically I can miss CBS News. Contractually, we don't have to carry that bottom of the hour. But we like to. It is still a hard break.
Just let me know what I gotta do. So we don't need to hit CBS?
We do. We're supposed to. But I'll give you a heads up. If we get within 30 seconds or so, we'll know. I'm going to set the bar at 15 seconds past. Like, if it looks like we're going to run longer than 31:15, I'll just blow it out. But we can meet it late as well. Is this us? Seven 7:17. Am I not? I'm not hearing me. There I am. All right. That was weird. 7:17. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So normally on Wednesdays we sit down with Congressman Garret Graves to get a little update on what's going on in our nation's capital with our representation. But the Congressman was en route back home yesterday, and he joins us now. Congressman Graves, thank you so much for the make-up date, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, Brian, thank you. Yeah, we had quite a day.
Yeah.
We ended up having 15 straight hours of debate in Transportation Committee, trying to put some sideboards or rein in some of this crazy spending. They're trying to do an additional $3.5 trillion spending bill, and just some really crazy spending components in there, including adding on top of the $70 billion already provided for transit systems, adding another $91 billion, and then another $12 billion and another $9 billion. I mean, it's just incredible. These are for the CATS type transit programs across the country. There's like 5 different programs that receive 90% of the funds. And as you can imagine, they're not here in Louisiana. And so we're trying to take money from some of the excessive spending of those categories and put it into things like roads and bridges, which we obviously need much more down here.
No, absolutely we do. And, yeah, I would imagine a lot of those involve that high-speed rail. What's the name of that? The Acela line, I think? The one that,
The Acela is, that's one of them, but they're actually trying to do one out in California. That was one of the other things. They were trying to put $10 billion toward the high-speed rail project in California connecting San Francisco to L.A. That train, they project at some point could go over 200 miles an hour, but again, just looking at cost to benefit, is that the most effective use of funds, or are we better off doing other types of transportation projects? And the way that they're trying to spend this money, it really manipulates the categories by, for example, saying this is only for high-speed rail. And one of the things that we've advocated for is looking at what the best return on the taxpayer investment is, as opposed to just putting it into a bucket that's only available for high-speed rail.
I mean, not to be too heartless, but the wind from a 200-mile-an-hour train would only propel wildfires, wouldn't it?
Haven't done the physics on that one, but look, bottom line is that you've got to stop manipulating dollars by putting them into these buckets that in many cases don't provide the same return on investment.
Right.
Just like I mentioned, we need to be able to put them into one bucket and decide what's the best solution here. Should we be doing subway and bus systems? Should we be doing other types of commuter rail? Or does it make sense for us to simply put another lane on the interstate and put new crossings over rivers? And as opposed to, again, by putting the money in buckets, you may get a positive return on investment, but it may not be as good as other ones. And we're just concerned that they're really trying to reward some of these major urban centers in New York, California, and other places, and not really thinking about the rest of America.
Congressman Garret Graves is our guest. This is D.C. Current. Congressman, I got to ask, another week has passed. I feel like I should have a definition on this by now. The plan is to spend $1.2 trillion on human infrastructure, and I don't know how to define that. Have you been given a clear definition on what human infrastructure is yet?
I really haven't, and as a matter of fact, Brian, they've really muddied the waters with the $3.5 trillion package I was just talking about, and the $1.2 trillion package. So they're really all one package. The way that Speaker Pelosi is causing us to debate and vote on these. You may have seen how she was leveraging some of the moderate members of Congress into forcing them to effectively vote for the $3.5 trillion package in order for us to even have a chance at doing an infrastructure bill, and really put a lot of folks in an uncomfortable situation. All I know is in the Transportation Committee during our 15 hours straight of debate and votes and amendments, that we were discussing housing and other things, and this is in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. We have no jurisdiction over housing yet. We debated housing and housing access and affordability for a long period of time. Of course, when they were talking housing affordability, I brought up duplication of benefits issue dating back to our 2016 flood.
Yeah,
where you had people that may have $150,000 on a mortgage on a house that's totally destroyed. I said, how does that improve their access to housing or affordability? In fact, we offered amendments on that. We offered amendments on Hurricane Ida assistance, only to have Speaker Pelosi put the hammer down and tell all Democrats that they had to vote against Hurricane Ida relief. We're putting excessive spending into categories like transit. Let me go through it again. $70 billion within the last year, $91 billion in the infrastructure bill, $12 billion in the appropriations bill, and another $10 billion in this legislation. So we tried to pull some of that excessive spending off and commit it toward Hurricane Ida recovery, so our hurricane victims can recover. We try to put some of the money toward duplication of benefits, and again, only to be shut down because Speaker Pelosi didn't want any changes to the bill at all.
I'm sorry, I got to fixate on this for just a second. 15 hours of debate. How does that work? That's the equivalent of binge watching the first 2 seasons of The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Like, how does 15 hours of debate work? Are you in there the whole time?
I sat in the chair the entire time.
Good Lord.
I did. I sat in the chair. I was sat in the ranking member chair the entire time, debating all these amendments. We literally did not stop. 15 hours straight. We started at 10 a.m. yesterday morning. We finished about 1:30 a.m. Only to, of course, after we gabbled out, to just continuing to have discussion and debate, talking through strategies about how we're going to try and fix this thing moving forward. Because I voted against the final package. Spending $3.5 trillion on these excessive things is really just crazy. And I'll tell you, Brian, I mean, in this package, I mentioned to you last week, Speaker Pelosi has a park in her district called Presidio Park. It's a beautiful golf course and officers club and all these things. She's putting an additional $200 million into it. They're funding things like desert fish and butterflies and have zero. Yes, I'm not kidding. And they have $0 in there for Hurricane Ida relief. When you spend $3.5 trillion, this is not the regular appropriations process. This is all a special package that Pelosi is trying to move forward. And so we did. We stepped in and said, look, here's what Presidio Park looks like. And, of course, this beautiful manicured place. I said, here's what, Miss Gautro's house looks like in Galliano. Here's what, Mr. Boudreaux's house looks like in Homa, and had pictures of those completely destroyed. I said, which one of these folks deserves money or help from American people more? And they shot down every amendment that we offered, trying to put funds toward Hurricane Ida relief and addressing some of the needs of the victims. Really just heartless, in my opinion, watching how they're going to do this. So now it looks like Speaker Pelosi is going to try to attach a debt limit increase, raising the national debt of this country from $28 trillion to $45 trillion, and then attach our hurricane relief to that legislation. Therefore, trying to put all of us in a box where we have to vote for her excessive spending at the same time that she's going to try and offer hurricane relief to Hurricane Ida victims.
Sticking with that Hurricane Ida relief and running into a brick wall with that, as frustrating as that is there a way to get the fact that Hurricane Ida hit such a big part of the nation? Is there no rallying with the folks from New York and New Jersey to help out?
Well, Brian, I did the amendment a few different ways, offered a few different amendments trying to pick up votes from other areas because, for example, one of the amendments we did included the 2020 disasters, so trying to pick up some of the impacted communities in other states like on the East Coast and as well as in Florida and Alabama and other places. And even one of the amendments we did on duplication of benefits, I did it going all the way back to 2012 with Hurricane Sandy, thinking we'd be able to pick up some of the New York and New Jersey folks. And as you know, New York and New Jersey was also impacted by Hurricane Ida.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, the only Democrat vote we were able to pick up was Congressman Steve Cohen out of the Memphis area, who he's come down to Louisiana a few times, loves it. And when I showed some of the pictures, he said, "There's no way I can vote against this," which I really appreciated him stepping up and crossing over the line there to support people in need.
We got Congressman Graves for a few more minutes this morning, and I really, really appreciate the make-up date. I know it was 15 hours of anything is going to be a marathon beyond that. So
hey, thank God for some coffee, right?
Right. Coffee. I figured you'd be just like mainlining Red Bull at some point. Can we talk national flood insurance, NFIP?
Yeah.
There is you and Congressman Scalise are teaming up to ask FEMA to hold off on a price spike. Where are we with that? Because that's going to hit home just as much as Ida relief is.
Brian, this is something that is creeping up in the shadows right now, but is going to jump out and cause some huge problems to some people that are already struggling. So to give you a little bit of background, there's something called Risk Rating 2.0, and this is a revised actuarial process. It's a revised methodology for how the National Flood Insurance Program will calculate flood insurance rates. What this will do is we were looking at some areas in Lafourche Parish and in St. Charles Parish would cause a tenfold, you're hearing that correct, a tenfold increase in flood insurance premiums. We saw people going from $572 a year to $5,500 a year. And this is on top of all the other expenses and recovery that folks are working on, having to do with Hurricane Ida and other financial challenges. So we were successful in stopping this, delaying this repeatedly. Well, now the current program expires on September 30th. They want to begin all of this starting October 1st for new home purchases and April 1st for existing policies. So as Congressman Scalise and I have been working to stop or delay this, we've pushed the Biden administration, because this is all them doing it administratively. We pushed the Biden administration to not do this, to stop this administratively, and we're also working on a legislative strategy to add it to the budget bill to force a delay in law. But even FEMA, when we sent them the letter, they called us and they said, well, we haven't seen rate spikes like this anywhere. And we said, this confirms in the 4 conference calls we've had with you how you don't understand the implications of what you're doing.
Right.
You can't do things like this without understanding how it impacts people. So we've asked them to delay. I'd sent them a letter back in April of this year telling them that they did, after 4 conference calls, that they did not understand the consequences. Now that we've got some of the projected rates, it just confirms our suspicions. And so we're pushing both an administrative route through the Biden administration and trying to force them to delay through law.
We will continue on that for an update at a later point. But I appreciate the update. I appreciate the make update. Congressman Garret Graves joins us every week for DC Current. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good week.
You too. Didn't even get a chance to ask him about AOC's dress. How about that? I mean, you got one guy debating for 15 hours and then another representative going to the Met Gala. I had that on the list, but with 15 seconds to go till break, I wasn't even about to open that Pandora's box. The NFIP thing just baffles me tenfold. It's basically like Congress saying, or it's basically like FEMA saying, you know what? Just don't live there anymore. We have a break for CBS News. When we come back, it's time for Crimestoppers. Coming up next on Talk 107.3. Around. Who did I not get there? I'm still you a complete collision, right? Shit. All right. It's ridiculous. And my party, the Republican Party, has traditionally been considered like the party of the wealthy. We're not doing nearly a good enough job of expressing and showing that Congress, especially on the left, does very, very little to help the poor, the middle class, and they do everything to carve things up for the elite. And that's it. A 200-mile-an-hour train to get you from San Francisco to L.A. and back, that is going to be way more for getting – it's going to do way more for the upper crust, the 1%ers, than it is for anybody else. What's happening, Don? You said he's going to be on the phone today? Okay.
Now he's at a nail. My dude, don't rush.
What's Fletcher's last name again?
No, that's his last name.
First name? Irwin? I'm glad you got that reference.
408.
1897, yeah.
Hey, call in at 408.
Yo, kill the mics. There he is. There he is.
All it takes is a phone and an open mind. No one will know. My eyes are right now. It's Crimestoppers on Talk 107.3
Get the phone.
FM.
738, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Sorry, Jake had to move over to the phone. Couldn't fade the thing down. Hey, this is time for Crimestoppers. We do this every week, and thank you for joining us. Don Capola, Sergeant Don Capola from Crimestoppers is in studio. Don, what's happening, man?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So you're not here for this segment. You're just here to set the table.
Right.
Joshua Fletcher is a special agent with the CN Railroad Police, and he's on his way here. I see him dialing in right now.
Yes.
So
yes.
we're talking railroad safety this week. But man, you heard Ashley's traffic report there a minute ago.
I did, and Joshua can vouch for that.
Yes, he can, and he joins us right now. Special Agent Joshua Fletcher, welcome back, sir. How are you?
Great, Brian. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. You're stuck in it, huh?
I'm right in the middle of it. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I apologize for laughing. It's just we hear the traffic report throughout the morning, and it's like, whew, is it really that bad? Yeah. Yes, it is really that bad. Next week is Rail Safety Week, and we want to be ahead of the game this year and talk a little bit about rail safety and what we see on a regular basis in and around our area. And that's why we're bringing you on today. Let's talk a little.
Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen in the last year when it comes to rail safety. I haven't heard about as many railroad accidents as I think I've heard in the past. How many have we had in the last year?
We're up around 8 right now, which is significant. We only had 6 all of last year. Last year was one of our best years. So to have 8 already this year, we've already surpassed last year. So not very good.
What's the nature of these accidents? What's the nature? Are they trains hitting vehicles or trains hitting pedestrians?
It's mostly trains hitting vehicles, luckily, but most of them have not been fatalities. So that's also good, but it's still that driver inattention. One of our main spots is right there at Airline on Choctaw. That's where the last incident was, and it's just cars are stopping on top of the tracks, or they're pulling too close to the tracks and they're being hit by the train.
Okay, the fact that they're not fatalities is encouraging because I always work under the impression that if you get hit by a train, you're dying.
But your chances are way up there. A lot more of dying with a train. I think it's like 50 times more likely if you're hit by a train to die than with another vehicle. So it's a crazy number. I think people don't understand the mass and the of the train. And that all dials into more severe injuries to the occupants of the vehicle.
No, absolutely. And you think of the speed of the train, and the speed might not be that much, comparatively speaking, to what you drive on the interstate or whatever. But it's just getting something of that size, the inertia it takes to stop it is impossible, and the power with which it punches is once you realize that it's too late.
Right, and that's exactly right. And it's when you look at a train and it's going 20 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour to anyone that drives a car nowadays doesn't seem that fast. But that's 12 million pounds traveling at 20 miles an hour, and I just don't think we can fathom that much weight and that energy that takes, to move 12 million pounds at 20 miles an hour. When your vehicle collides with that train, it transfers that energy through your car, and if you're in that car, through you. And our bodies are resilient, but they're just not that resilient. They can't withstand those kinds of forces when they're passed through us, and that's why it's so serious and so dangerous. And I kind of think it's funny ridiculous that we have to talk about this in 2021 about people please not stopping on the tracks or not driving around the gate and following these warning signs, because there's a high potential that you can lose your life or be seriously injured. It just seems like something that we would have learned by now, that we just don't mix our cars with trains.
It is amazing to me. In fact, especially with them being so prevalent in Baton Rouge, 8 accidents so far this year. When was the most recent, and what was the cause?
So the last one was just a month ago. It was right there at Airline, and the vehicle actually stopped on top of the tracks with the red warnings flashing, and there was a red light. So they actually ran a red light and failed to yield to the flashing route lights of the train, the crossing, and were struck by the train.
Is that normally the case? Is it more a case of trying to ignore the red lights or beat the red lights, or they're already stuck on the tracks?
So they're not necessarily. So that's kind of they do say they were stuck on the tracks, but this is exactly what's happening is with the Department of Transportation Development or the city engineers, we've developed a thing called preemption at all red lights that are near railroad tracks. And what that red light will do is as soon as the railroad tracks are triggered to activate, where you have that flashing light to tell you to stop, because that's what a flashing red light means.
Yeah.
If there is a traffic light close by, like at Airline, that traffic light will actually go green for 5 seconds. And that allows anyone that, even though they're not supposed to, stopped on top of the railroad tracks, to give them that green light to get off and get away from the railroad tracks to a safe distance. But what we see is when we have that's called preemption, when that preemption activates, those cars that are in close proximity to the railroad tracks that shouldn't have stopped there anyway but did, they leave, and the cars that are stopped behind the tracks in a safe area, they advance forward through a red light to try to get that green light also, to not be delayed by the train. And then those are the people that actually are getting hit by the train.
I mean, it feels like a redundancy to help flush the system, and yet for some reason it backfires as well. How far can we go, aside from awareness and the measures that are already taken? How far do we need to go to keep people safe?
I mean, you know, we work with Department of Transportation and local law enforcement, and we have that destination zero. We want 0 fatalities in Louisiana, and that's absolutely possible if people will help us follow these simple laws. It's absolutely against the law to stop within 15 feet of the rail, and that's your front bumper and your back bumper. Just by following those simple things and not driving around the gates and stopping for flashing red lights, we could easily be there this year for the rest of the year. We could have 0.
It feels so common sense to me. I mean, we're here on Government Street. There's railroad tracks just up the road here. In fact, on my way into work this morning, there was a train blocking the railroad tracks, and you opt for North Boulevard instead to avoid the whole situation. It feels like I don't know why the message doesn't get through. This isn't the first rail safety week, you know?
Right, exactly. And that's why I think it's almost incredible that we have to have a rail safety week to tell people, hey, please don't get hit by the train. They're loud vehicles. We know where a train will appear. There has to be tracks there, and still we keep having these problems. And we do a ton of enforcement with Baton Rouge City Police, East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office, the Louisiana State Police, and all of our other partners. We're out there doing enforcement on these crossings. There's signs that say do not stop on tracks. And it's almost a common sense thing that you probably wouldn't want to stop on the tracks anyway, but we're out there. We offer Operation Lifesaver offers free presentations to any group, anywhere, that we can come in and teach them the specific laws. There are specific laws for professional drivers or for school bus drivers. We offer that anytime. I'm one of those volunteers that will offer those classes. You can go to the website, oli.org, and request one of those presentations. For safety meetings, for any type of church meeting, any type of meeting, we'll come and do a presentation for. We have them geared towards all ages, from kindergarten all the way up through senior citizens. So, and we know these causal factors. You know, I can literally tell you what's going to happen if there's a crash at Airline. I've just described what's happened at all the past crashes at Airline. It's those cars that keep moving up because they see that green light ahead, and they're going through a red light to advance to a green light.
Not to pile on someone who's already been hit by a train, but are there penalties for that as well?
Absolutely. And in fact, getting cited or getting cited and having to go to court and having that all adjudicated is actually a benefit, because you could lose your life.
Right.
Then that's what we're talking about, is if you got a ticket because you were hit by a train, you actually won. You survived, and you were able to survive. So you put yourself in a scenario where getting a ticket is the best thing that can happen to you. That's just not a very good, not a good outcome, I think, for making poor choices.
Well, I just in trying to explore options as to how folks can help out, how folks can help others be aware. And since this is the Crimestoppers segment, I would think that the Crimestoppers P3 app would be a great opportunity to take photographs of people who do this, even if they're, even if they come away unscathed, they're still violating what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. And another great way is share the message that's being broadcast this morning with your family and friends. Share that this weekend. Tell them, hey, it's against the law to stop on the tracks, or at Airline Highway, if there's a green light, but you're stopped behind the red light. You can't advance forward past that. You have to stay at the red light, 15 feet from the nearest rail. If everyone observed that rule only 15 feet from the nearest rail, we wouldn't even have to have a rail safety week. We would can focus on other things like maybe hurricane awareness or something like that.
Exactly. In the meanwhile, he is Special Agent Joshua Fletcher. Actually, before we get you out of here, just to be clear, all 8 accidents that we've seen this year have been vehicular, right? We have not had pedestrian accidents.
This year we have not had a pedestrian, luckily, yet, but we do have those. And once again, those are people misjudging the speed of the train, and they try to beat the train. Also, it is absolutely against the law to cross the railroad tracks anywhere except at a public crossing. So if you're just cutting across the rails behind your house or whatever, that's considered trespassing. And the reason why is there's no horn blown in those situations. The horn has to be blown at every public crossing. So there's no warning, and then, they're not expecting, the train crew's not expecting someone to be crossing if it's not at a designated crossing.
Next week is Rail Safety Week. He is Special Agent Joshua Fletcher. We appreciate the time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And don't forget to download that P3 app. It's available. The P3 app is available to take pictures, videos. You see a crime happening, not just somebody parked on the railroad tracks, but whatever the case might be, it is available. We do Crimestoppers every week at this time. Let's catch your money now. Okay, well, that went well. Yeah. I was a little bit nervous having him on the phone. There's no back and forth, but he's good. Good. Absolutely. Are the mics on? Kill the mics, please. Yeah. A little bit. I do need to take 60 seconds to tell you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. Check them out online at CompleteCollision.com. CompleteCollision.com. A lot of rain over the last couple days. A lot of water on the roads. That normally means more accidents. If you get into an accident, you need to know where you're going before you even get into an accident, which is why you should check out CompleteCollision.com. Find the location nearest you, either Plank Road in Zachary or Perkins just east of Bluebonnet. They could do everything at both locations. Smaller footprint over at Perkins and Bluebonnet, but it doesn't limit what they can do. And what they could do is make sure that all the redundancies, crumple zones, safety features that your manufacturer built into your car are returned to manufacturer specs. They work for you. They don't work for the insurance company. They get you back on the road safely at both locations of Complete Collision Center. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. I did not realize that my voice was on the next spot. That was on me. Well, actually, it's not on anybody. It doesn't matter. I was listening over the weekend. 4 spots in a row I was voicing. Yeah. Oh my God. Spreading awareness of the new flood insurance rating. Another problem where the people in Zone X, considered not a flood zone, currently pay $572 a year. This relatively low rate encourages people in Zone X to participate in the flood program, which spreads risk. .756 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got CBS News coming your way in just a little bit. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk with Dr. Golden Richard from LSU. They're training folks in cybersecurity and teaming up with Louisiana State Police to do it. It's a program that has me very, very intrigued. I love the idea of staying ahead of the curve when it comes to hackers. If you've ever experienced this from a personal standpoint, you know full well how dangerous it is. We talk about it in Tech Gumbo all the time. Or I should say Cup of Tech Gumbo all the time. So looking forward to that. And also, Ask the Governor was yesterday. We've got audio from that show with Governor John Bell Edwards talking about a myriad of topics. Right now, though, every day we step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. Baton Rouge Physical Therapy brings you the outside in. Starting off with COVID in schools. Each week, the Department of Health issues a report showing how many cases of COVID-19 has been reported in schools, including both adults and students. For the calendar week running September 6th through the 12th, there were 1,724 new student cases, 223 new adult cases, with 468 schools reporting. Your top 5 most cases for the week are Vermilion Parish with 153, Livingston with 142. Lafayette with 125, Rapides with 112, and Bossier with 106. I want to say EBR was just under 100 at 97. Deputies in Tangipahoa Parish are trying to identify the male suspects accused in 2 car thefts and several car burglaries earlier this week. Happened in the area of CC Road. Surveillance video reportedly shows a group of men in the area looking for unlocked vehicles. Deputies say the thieves were able to steal 2 vehicles and a handgun from 3 unlocked vehicles. 2 of those vehicles also had the keys left inside them. Deputies say they've got a lead on one of the suspects because they were able to track the movements of one of the stolen vehicles. In Iberville Parish, 2 men were arrested after deputies found them trying to steal catalytic converters. The Iberville Parish Sheriff's Office said the attempted theft happened at an automotive shop in Plaquemine. Deputies found 22-year-old John Sesford of Baker and 41-year-old Jeremy Hobgood of Slaughter trying to remove the parts from the vehicle in the business's parking lot after getting a report of suspicious activity. When they apprehended the men, deputies also found a power drill and a walkie-talkie beneath that vehicle. Closing out in Iberia Parish, where the city of Jeanerette is about to be downgraded. Poor Jeanerette. It's going to be changing to the town of Jeanerette. The 2020 census count was at 4,813 people. According to the Louisiana Directory of Cities, Towns, and Villages, the population has to be over 5,000 to be a city. Sorry, Jeanerette, you're now a town. Here comes CBS News. Yeah, you want to see something scary? There's a transformer right outside that window. Yeah. I mean, like on the electrical line, not like Optimus Prime. Yeah.
I was never the biggest Transformers fan, and then once the Michael Bay movie started coming out, like after like the second or third one, they just started feeling hollow.
I mean, it was a cartoon when I was growing up, so. Byron says my niece was hit by a train 3 years ago. She's still recovering. I know. Can't even imagine. Yeah. I'm going to knock that out before tossing to you. Say again? Hour 3 bump. I'll do Mooyah and then toss to you for This Day in History. Oh, I've got a great This Day in History. Yep. 1979. This day in 1979. The world changed. If you can cue that up to the beginning, it'd be awesome. You said Mooyah? 806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Thanks again to Congressman Garret Graves and Special Agent Joshua Fletcher for hopping on board last hour. Covered a lot of ground. That NFIP topic with Congressman Graves, basically what they're doing with rates is going to destroy looking at homeowners insurance or flood protection insurance. I live in a flood zone X, right? I think a buddy of mine texted me in the break there. I live in a flood zone X. I'm not required to have flood insurance, but I'll be darned, my house flooded in 2016, right? So you start thinking, well, with the amount of damage we took on, I probably should get flood insurance. My premium where it's at right now makes it affordable. But when rates change, is it still going to be affordable? Or would I be more willing in a flood zone X, a 1,000-year flood's going to get me, right? Would I be more willing to just roll the dice, not get insured at all, lean on FEMA when the you-know-what hits the fan? And what does that do for the people who are still insured or have to be insured that are in a floodplain? Their premiums are going to go up even further because there's fewer people participating. It's the equivalent of only making the sickest people buy health insurance. What happens to rates then? So, hey, this hour we're going to be talking cybersecurity. And by the way, shout out to my buddy Tommy for sending me that one. We're going to talk cybersecurity with Dr. Golden Richard in our next segment. We're going to get to This Day in History in just a minute. First, though, I do need to take 60 seconds to tell you about the folks over at Mooyah. You got your lunch plans yet? If not, let me give you the best case scenario for what you could do for lunch. That was a pun. the best queso-nario. Not case scenario. The best queso-nario. It is one of the many burgers you can find at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. It comes with green chili queso on top of it. Yes, the queso is on the burger. Tomato, fried onion strings, jalapeno slices, jalapeno business. You got a touch of the real mayo. You've got the potato bun. It is a fantastic burger. The best queso-nario. One of more than a dozen burgers you're going to find on the menu that are made to very specific tastes along the way, whether that be the best case scenario, whether that be the indulgent barbecue, the A-Wonderful, the hamburger dog. It's a burger with a hot dog on it. The well-donion. I mean, you name it, they've got it going on. And if you can't find what you're looking for, you can build your own. Both locations of Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Blue Bonnet at Highland, Segan, just north of Industrialplex. Stop by. Oh, by the way, real ice cream milkshakes as well. Get yourself a burger for lunch today. Why wouldn't you? At Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. All right, time for Jake to take us back in time. Time for this day in history. What do you got, Jake? What do you got?
1630.
Wow.
That's where we're starting off.
Taking it back.
Massachusetts village of Shama changes its name to Boston.
Boston.
Yeah, from Boston over here. Going all the way to 1906, the magnetic South Pole in Antarctica is discovered. I thought it would be way
really
farther back in history.
Yeah.
Like a century.
You think about it,
change.
though. I mean, there's still people in the NBA today that believe the Earth is flat. So, 115 years ago to find the South Pole.
I guess that's something, yeah.
Right?
1920, the Wall Street bombing occurs at 12:01 when a horse-drawn wagon explodes on Wall Street, New York, killing 38 and injuring 143.
Wow.
Yeesh.
The Wall Street bombing.
Yeah.
All right.
1973, Buffalo's O.J. Simpson rushes for a then NFL record 250 yards in Buffalo's 31-13 win at New England.
Boy, I tell you what, man. O.J. Simpson, Heisman Trophy winner, 2,000-yard rusher, Nordberg from Naked Gun. That guy will forever be beloved. I mean, unless he, kills his ex-wife and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
By the
way, it is important to note.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. The day after Norm Macdonald dies, O.J. Simpson's popping up. Come on. Coincidence?
I think not. 1974, Bob Dylan records Blood on the Tracks in Nashville, Tennessee. Any Bob Dylan fans out there? I thought that one was for you. 1978, filming begins for Monty Python's Life of Brian on location at Tanzania.
Yeah, that was not about me.
Excuse me.
I'm not the Brian in that one, by the way.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure I was 2.
Ah. Okay.
Hadn't done a whole lot. Wasn't a whole lot of Life of Brian at that point.
Yeah, it would have been a short movie.
Yeah.
1983.
Whoa. You go chronologically.
I do.
I need you to, don't turn off the bed, turn down the bed music. It was on this day in 1979. You got this queued up? All right. It was on this day in 1979 that music was changed forever. Oh! Take it back, Jake. Do you know this tune?
Give me a sec.
It's a little bit before your time.
I don't want to show my youth too much yet. Let me hear the chorus if we got time.
Rap music basically was invented today. Credited as being the first real rap song. It was on this day in 1979, September 16th, 1979. Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight was released, basically introducing the world to what is now known as rap music.
This beat is
Hip,
awesome.
hop.
Oh, yeah.
Hip, hopper, you don't stop. All right. You let me go, I'll do all 7 minutes of the song.
Well, then I'll spare the rest of those listening.
Get back to the regular bit. Get back to Huey Lewis in the news.
All right, 1983, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
By the way, I need to note for the YouTube audience, there was music playing that whole time. I was not I'm dancing to the music, but you can't hear music, right?
Yeah, you're just gonna.
That had to look goofy.
That
probably looked a little goofy.
I was bouncing too. Hey, they could.
I know. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, good. 1983, Arnold Schwarzenegger becomes a U.S. citizen. I know, but that was mentioned.
I want the YouTube of that. I want the YouTube of his swearing in ceremony. I promise.
Well, it gets better in the years
The Constitution.
coming. Not on this day, but one day eventually.
Mm-hmm.
1996, Howard Stern radio show premieres in Panama City, Florida on WTBB 97.7 FM.
96?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Been doing it for a while. 1997, Apple Computer Inc. names co-founder Steve Jobs interim CEO.
That's a good move.
Yeah, it was.
They did all right with that.
Not too shabby. 2000, Sammy Sosa becomes the second player to hit 50 or more home runs in 3 consecutive years, joining Mark McGwire.
Nice. Good job, Sammy.
2002, talk show Dr. Phil debuts on US TV.
Oh, jeez. I have no idea. God.
The memes
that guy
we've gotten from that.
He's often on TV while I'm at the gym, so if I'm on the treadmill or something, I'll look up and see him. It's so unnerving. And how fake is the walk-off at the end when he's holding his wife's hand? Sorry. Daytime television. Daytime television is the worst. I don't understand how people can be unemployed. Because if you're unemployed, you have to watch daytime television. And it's awful. Go ahead. Sorry.
2018, Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes sets an NFL record of 10 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks of his season, torching Pittsburgh's secondary with 6 touchdown passes, leads Chiefs to a 42-37 victory on the road. What a quarterback this man
Wait a
is.
minute now. So he threw 6 in that one, 4 in the other.
Mm-hmm.
Jameis is halfway there.
Dun, dun, dun! Right. Jameis is the future! That will conclude the historic events. Let's get over to the birthdays. We've got a couple to go through. First off, Nick Jonas turns 29.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I kind of like him nowadays, at least like the Jonas Brothers. Back in like late 2000s, I was like, that's for girls. But now I like it.
Yeah.
Anthony Padilla turns 34. Shout out to the younger audience listening in. You know who he is if you're of that demographic, more than likely. Hey, if you do, good for you. Amy Poehler turns 49. Aaron Gordon recently signed a big boy extension with the Denver Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
He turns 25 on this day.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke, 69 years old today. Elgin Baylor was born on this day in 1934, who recently passed this year. Manuel Pellegrini, ex-Manchester City manager. Love that man. Turns 67 today. And finally, Chris Carson turns 27.
You had Flo Rida?
How did I miss him? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Flo Rida's 41 today.
Oh, I'm so disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
We're just going to move swiftly right along. There are no deaths to report on today that I could find personally.
All right.
Let's get right to the holidays. Collect Rocks Day.
Nope. Skipping it.
I see what you did there.
Oh, skipping rocks. That was unintentional.
That's why you tune in every weekday. National Choose Your Chocolate Day. What's your chocolate of choice?
Milk chocolate.
Obviously.
Yeah.
National Cinnamon.
A basic Hershey's bar is good.
I'm more of a Reese's guy myself.
Well, then you get peanut butter involved.
What's a better combination than
There's
that?
not. I'm just saying you're making it complex.
Fair. All right. National Cinnamon Raisin Bread Day. National Guacamole Day. National Play-Doh Day. And for some reason, National Stay Away from Seattle Day.
That's damn near every day.
Yeah, I mean,
why would you? And that is this day in history. He is Jake Barkty. We are super late for a break. When we come back, let's talk cybersecurity. Where are we going? What are we doing? How are we training the future? That's next. Hotline. Sorry about that. We were mid-segment right there. This is Brian. Hey, Golden. How's it going, man? Good deal. We're running a little bit long. I had a live read spot in that last segment that I don't normally have there, so I'm gonna put you right back on hold. We're coming up in about a minute and a half. Okay? Cool. Thank you. Kill my mic for a second. All right. .820 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, in the world of cybersecurity, there is a shortage in the U.S. workforce. Fighting the hackers, there is a shortage of about 500,000. LSU is teaming up with Louisiana State Police to put a dent in that. The program's called Firestarter. The Cybersecurity Talent Initiative Fund is going to help provide some of the funds to get this done. LSU's teaming up with Louisiana State Police. The man heading this up is Dr. Golden Richard, and he joins us now. Golden, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you?
Doing very well. Saw the press release and was instantly intrigued. This is an initiative that is definitely forward-thinking, and even more than that is needed, in very dire need right now.
Yeah, for sure. So this is part of several things that we're doing in cybersecurity at LSU to raise the stature of the program and to provide opportunities for students.
How much room is there for growth right here, and where are we right now as we start the initiative when it comes to preparing our cybersecurity workforce?
I mean, there's a ton of room. There's all sorts of both federal and state initiatives that are trying to get more people to sit in a chair and do cybersecurity because of the gap that you mentioned. So and at LSU, our real intention is to create really top-notch talent that fills the seats that solve the most challenging problems.
What are the most challenging problems?
Well, it's things like finding malware and understanding it, and then being able to create mitigation against future infection. Complicated forensics problems, things that don't involve just pressing buttons and tools, but really understanding the situation and maybe developing solutions on the spot.
Mm-hmm. It feels like a blank slate. I mean, do y'all have blueprints to work off of already, or is there a lot of room to grow and learn yourselves as you're training?
Yeah, I mean, there is room, of course. And so we have some pretty high-tech cybersecurity classes at LSU, and the idea with the Cyber Range initiative, Firestarter, is that we're now going to have what's essentially a large-scale simulation of real computer networks, including industrial control system stuff and things like that. And students will then be able to see how to attack and defend in a real network environment. And the connection with the state police is really important because they're essentially going to feed live cybersecurity data into the range, and so students will see they'll essentially work on real simulations of real attacks.
Now, when you say real attacks, you're talking about malware attacks, and we've seen those in the news repeatedly this year. I mean, it's very much ramped up. when you go through these scenarios, you're going through real world scenarios or like simulations of real world scenarios?
So it can be both, right? The cyber range will let us create scenarios that we want to train students in, but we can also incorporate data from real attacks, which essentially then simulates something much closer to the real, the real attack. So you can either make things up or concentrate on real world attacks. I think sort of both are important.
Now, the malware attacks have garnered a lot of headlines recently, but this is just scratching the surface for what y'all are going to be doing, correct? I mean, this is going to cover a lot of other different scenarios as well.
Yeah, it's not just malware. It's you can also look at attack and defense against human actors and malicious hackers and so forth, and also just investigate techniques for recovering evidence after an attack. So the forensic part, there's a whole bunch of stuff that it's going to let us do that currently we would have to do sort of in an ad hoc manner, I would say. So I'm very excited about the range. The students are breaking down my door to start playing with it, but it's not quite set up yet. We're probably a week or two out.
How long does this last? Like for a student, if a student were signing up today, how long are they in the program for?
So most of the students are going to be cybersecurity students getting a bachelor's or master's or PhD in computer science. Mm-hmm. So that their exposure to the range will coincide with whatever the length of their academic career. The non-traditional students that are mentioned in the press release are that we're essentially going to also be able to allow state police and other actors to come and use the range to train their own people. So it's both academic and non-academic.
Well, I asked that from a job growth standpoint. I would imagine. I mean, the hackers are already halfway down the road, right? We're already playing catch up at this point. So
yeah, they're more than halfway down the road.
Well, it's true. People will be, as soon as they're job ready, they have jobs available.
That's absolutely true. So one of my students just got a job at MIT Lincoln Labs to combat malware and do cybersecurity stuff. We've had students go and be defense contractors, and students are headed to work at NSA. So there's no shortage of jobs. One of the slides in my intro, slide sets on cybersecurity shows a guy holding a need a job sign with a big X through it. There's going to be no good cybersecurity student that isn't snatched immediately.
That is fantastic. I love hearing it from a jobs perspective, from an employment perspective, but also from a staying ahead of the curve perspective. Are there comps to this program at other universities?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the other, I'll talk about it briefly. One of the other initiatives we're looking at is being designated as a cyber operations center of academic excellence by NSA. And so there's roughly 20 schools currently nationwide that are certified, and NSA has chosen LSU to attempt a designation and actually try out their new designation process. So we're the victim that's being used to both try to get designated and to debug their tool for designation. And that the CACO schools tend to be the ones that have very hands-on, very applied, very high-tech cybersecurity. So we're looking forward to joining that group of schools.
That the Centers of Academic Excellence in Cyber Operations. Now
yes.
that sounds more exploratory or more about learning. This sounds more about enforcement.
So it's both. The CACO program both designates schools and has an associated internship where students go and essentially become provisional NSA employees, mm-hmm. and spend a summer working on NSA problems. And just as a stat, I mean, the recruitment, NSA is trying to get people to come to work on their own workforce with that program. This last summer, the success rate in terms of like people that attended the internship and actually took jobs at NSA was something like 96%. So,
wow.
Yeah, it does work.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing that's happening is we recently got funding from National Science Foundation for the Scholarships for Service program, which is also workforce development. This gives full ride scholarships to LSU students in exchange for accepting federal jobs in cybersecurity after. So essentially, as an undergrad, you get $25,000 a year, all your tuition paid, perks like a free laptop, et cetera. And for grad students, it's even more. And your only obligation is just please accept the federal job that we offer you. So, yeah, I wish this had existed when I was a student.
I mean, were you air quoting the whole "please accept the federal job" part? You get a free ride, you get the tuition paid for, and then the gig guaranteed on the back end. There's not a whole lot of fields where you walk into school and know where you're walking out with that.
No, and there's no stick here like you're going to take this job. There's a negotiating process throughout the internship where you actually find the federal agency that most interests you, and yeah, you're just basically agreeing to accept a job in exchange for not paying for school.
Got 60 seconds left with Dr. Golden Richard. We're talking about the Fire Starter program. In preparing for this, I was trying to explore different ways that there might be roadblocks, and the only thing I can come up with is chasing hackers is constantly chasing. You're never fully ahead of them. Does this program have plans to not only catch up with but surpass where hackers are, so you can, if you'll pardon the term, head them off at the pass?
I mean, that's a difficult question.
Yeah.
So our only all I can say to that is that this is one of the reasons that we're trying to really target the highest possible level of technical proficiency. So we do need people sitting in those seats that can just like run software and just do routine tasks. But we're truly trying to create like Marvel superhero cybersecurity people, and I think those people have the best chance of solving that problem.
He is Dr. Golden Richard. I find the whole thing fascinating, man. Good luck with this.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on for a couple minutes this morning. We're coming up on CBS News here at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to check our own local news after that, and then take a quick break for traffic and weather. When we come back, though, Governor John Bel Edwards hit the microphone yesterday for Ask the Governor. We'll cover it next. That was fascinating. Hey, Casey. I wish I could have been twice as long. I wanted more room to run with him. That was absolutely fascinating. Right?
So is this next thing going to be its own segment for this?
What do you mean? Ask the Governor. Yeah, he does a monthly call-in show. I emailed you 3 cuts for it. Okay. We're going to go 2, then 3, and then 1 on the back end. Do I have any more lives today? Okay. I don't know, Baton Rouge mattress.
So no, I'm not going to write my own article for like toast.
No.
What's this 9:10?
We have an interview after the show. We're going to be recording it for on demand, and I got to find out how to pronounce these dudes' names. Yes. It's another one of these through the booking agency that we did yesterday. I thought it was tomorrow, but it's today. So. Oh no, Steven Weber's tomorrow. You watch Cobra Kai?
I heard it's good though.
I got. Oh, I know. Guy's name is spelled Xolo. I guess Zolo. Yeah.
Where is this person from?
I don't know. Sholo? Say it again.
Hi, I'm Peyton List. And I'm Sholomite Duenya, and we're here from Cobra Kai. Today we're going to be playing...
Sholo? Alright. Try another one. Shol Meriduena. Yeah, I'm kind of doing this one as a favor to them. That's why I'm doing it off air. That way, if it's not good, I'm not gonna. I'll just post it on demand because both these dudes have huge tribes on social, but I don't want to burn airtime with it. I'll do that from time to time. On no, on the one we're doing after the show. Yeah, yeah, but not yet. We'll hold on to the audio for right now. Post it back up tomorrow or something. But like, yeah, you boys got 84,000 Twitter followers. One of them's got 84,000 Twitter followers. Jacob Bertrand's got. Yeah, Jacob Bertrand's got 50,000. So. Miguel Diaz and Hawk from Cobra Kai. They've got a podcast called Lone Lobos, which doesn't really make sense. There's two of you. You're not exactly lone. .838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So every third Wednesday of the month, Governor John Bel Edwards sits down for his monthly call-in show, Ask the Governor. And you never know what you're going to get when you have a call-in show. The questions can be about just about anything under the sun. Predominantly, over the last year and a half, most of the questions have been about COVID-19. I mean, that's what's been pressing, right? When legislative session is in, it ticks up around that. When elections are rolling around, it ticks up to about, different things on the ballot. Never candidates, because the governor can't sound off on that. But if you got I don't know, we've got more tax breaks coming up on our next ballot that made it their way through the legislative session. Might get questions on that. Might get questions on, I don't know, in the wake of Hurricane Ida, questions about Hurricane Ida. Or the most unbelievable general randomness ever. Yesterday's show featured questions about, Haley Arsenault was in the mix there. Coach O riding the ship was in the mix. Trying to think of a few other ones that might have been off the radar but still noteworthy. I tell you, one of the bigger questions that the governor was asking, this is a super long answer. It's like a minute 30, maybe even more, but I wanted to get the whole answer here. LSU's president, Dr. William Tate, was invited to the White House to speak with Joe Biden about the vaccine mandates, and that's one of the many vaccine stories that were coming out. The governor was asked specifically about the president's vaccine mandates, what the president has to say about getting vaccines, and whether or not it should be a matter of a full-on mandate, or do you respect the people's rights, the people's ability to make the right choice on their own, or should vaccines be a total shove down? That's the nature of the question, and here's what Governor John Bel Edwards had to say about vaccine pushdowns and mandates.
Look, the vaccines are safe, they're effective, they're free, they're convenient, and they are the way out of the pandemic. My messaging has not changed and will not change. Individuals need to take advantage of this opportunity that we've been given to protect themselves, their families, their community, and to keep the pandemic in check. It is the most important thing that we can do to get through this as soon as possible and in the best possible shape. And so, I encourage people to get vaccinated. Today we have 89% of the cases are among unvaccinated people. The hospitalizations, it's the same percentage. 85% of the deaths from COVID-19 are unvaccinated individuals. And so I just think it's important. And these, at least the Pfizer is now completely approved by the FDA, full licensure. A number of people indicated they were going to wait until that happened before they would get vaccinated. Well, that has happened, and that shot's available for individuals who are able to go and get these vaccines. So I encourage people to do it. I understand that there are some people who believe that they have a right to decide, and certainly they do, whether to get the vaccine. But those choices have consequences not just for themselves, but for society as a whole. And we also have a right not to be unreasonably exposed to dangers from others. And so those two things can be in conflict, and you have to come down one way or the other. I'm encouraging people to do it because it really is the right thing to do. Sometimes we focus so much on what we have a right to do or a right not to do that we forget to focus on what is the right thing to do.
So I heard a number of things in there that just leave the door open. He says, I encourage people to get the vaccine, which, as do I. I'm vaccinated. My wife's vaccinated. Our oldest daughter has her first shot. She's slated to get the second one in a couple weeks. Easy peasy on my end. I have no idea if I've had COVID since I've gotten the vaccine. No clue. If I did, I was completely asymptomatic and never had a reason to take a test. I don't think I have, but you get where I'm going here. But something he said towards the end kind of sticks out to me. Some people believe they have a right, and they certainly do. And then had but, ... Some people believe they have a right, and they certainly do. So he's acknowledging a person's right to make their own choices. But there are times where emergencies will supersede rights, your constitutional rights. We've seen it repeatedly. We see it after hurricanes. We see it with curfews. We saw it with the stay-at-home order. We see it with the mask mandate. And I think everyone would agree that the mask mandate is a lot less invasive than being forced to get a shot, which is what you're starting to see trickle down from the national level now. The hard part is you're not going to get everyone on the same page as to the vaccine being the way out of the pandemic. There is going to be, no matter what, there's going to be a segment of the population that believes the vaccine is dangerous. There's going to be a segment of the population that believes the vaccine is useless. I mean, I made the joke during This Day in History. We still have players in the NBA that believe the world is flat. Like, you're never going to convince everyone. The number of people who still smoke baffles me. With so much evidence of it causing cancer and the dangers of secondhand smoke, the heart problems that come along with smoke, with so much science in the bank for so many years, we still have people who actively smoke. That baffles me. But they make that choice, right? They make that choice. You're never going to convince, well, I tell you, my grandfather smoked every day of his life, died at 96. Okay. Super for your grandfather. You're never going to convince people. You're never convince everybody. I want to take note, though, that the governor has also said repeatedly, we're not going to enforce our way out of this. Governor who's writing tickets for the capacity restrictions. We're not going to enforce it. Well, the state fire marshal's going out, but we're not going to enforce our way out of this. Governor, you put down a mask mandate. What if people don't comply? Well, we're not going to enforce our way out of this. One would have to think that if a vaccine mandate were to come down in Louisiana, and this is my own assumption here, it will be kicked down from higher than the governor. It will be shoved down and shoved right past the governor. He encourages people to get it. He knows it's the right thing, but you can't force people to do the right thing. You can't enforce your way out of a problem. But if it comes down right past them, I don't see him fully standing in the way. So that's where we're at on the vaccines. I didn't want to talk a whole lot of COVID today. Numbers, by the way, COVID numbers continue to trend in the right direction. We're now under 1,600 people in the hospital with COVID-19. We're getting so close to reducing the number of hospitalized COVID patients by half in 1 month. We're, 1,500 and change right now. It was August 17th, I believe, was when we were at 3,022. Was that the right number? 1,521 right now. 77 new deaths reported today. Reported yesterday. 2,371 new cases reported yesterday. We're moving in the right direction for sure. COVID was just one topic in the show yesterday. The governor was also asked about Hurricane Ida and the lessons we learned from Hurricane Ida. And interestingly enough, this was something that I talked about a little bit as the storm was hitting us, basically. Our prep time wasn't what it normally is. Cut 3, please.
For one, we have to reevaluate the whole deal about what kind of evacuations you call and whether you start contraflow, because you typically would gauge that depending on the forecasted strength of the storm and its path. But more and more, we're seeing storms that blow up in the Caribbean, and you don't have much time, and they undergo rapid intensification, and you don't have as much time to do, for example, a contraflow that really takes a long time to do it correctly, because what you don't want to do is actually trap the people on the coast behind all the people ahead of them. And if you don't have enough time to stage the contraflow, that's what's going to happen. But we also now have a hurricane risk reduction system that protects the many people in the metropolitan area of New Orleans and Jefferson Parish and other parishes as well, to a degree that wasn't available to us before.
All right, let's start with the flood protection system, levee system, if you will. In touring a lot of the damage, amazing the difference in damage from inside versus outside the levee system. Levee system's working, y'all. Amazing work with the levee system. Within it, everything was wind damage. Outside of it, well, you had storm surge and water push up as well. Levee system worked. But more to the point about the first half of his answer, about getting people out, about contraflow. We're looking at, we're dealing with Nicholas right now, right? Well, let's say that the sun's out. On and off, we've been dealing with a lot of rain from Nicholas. Nicholas formed in the Caribbean. Ida formed in the Caribbean. We got 3 storms forming in the Atlantic right now, but this pop up in the Caribbean, make its way north across a very, very warm Gulf of Mexico, really cuts down on our lead time, really cuts down on our ability to prepare. We can't just sit back and watch a storm slowly cross the Atlantic, having 9, 10, 11 days in order to get folks out. When it's down to 3 or 4 days to determine the direct path, determine the intensity, now, oops, got to get people out of town. That's a different ball game altogether. How are we going to adapt to that? Oh, by the way, I'm not burying the lead there. Yes, there are 3 different systems being worked right now. 2 of them have a greater than 80% chance of forming into storms. The third one is still on Africa's coast or getting off of Africa's coast. It's got a ways to go. But these storms that are out there They're in the Atlantic. They'll give us the lead time. They're not going to sneak attack us like Ida did. I know 3.5 days of preparation is not a full-on sneak attack, but it doesn't give you the amount of time that we've been used to in the past. Got one more cut from the governor we're going to get to in our next segment. We're going to have a little bit of fun with a certain caller. That's coming up next. Right now, we got to check your money now on Talk 107.3. The number of scientists saying the booster dose is not needed is amazing. It's going to be interesting to see it play out, how quickly their voices go away, if they go away at all. Tough to answer.
What's the one you play the least?
What, like at a DJ gig or just in general?
Like you're driving.
If I'm listening to music, it's usually like something on Pandora that's from. I like a lot of EDM. I like a lot of R&B. I like a lot of hip hop. What's a good way to describe it? I like pop. Yeah. A little electro, yeah. It's everything that came out about 15 years ago, from like 05 to 09, that whole club music window, that whole Jersey Shore window. Mm-hmm. Akon, Timbaland, Justin Timberlake, when Lady Gaga first came out. Saw her in concert. Yeah. Yeah, that whole era of what was that? Oh, Berry Gordy's nephews, LMFAO, when they first came out, like before Party Rock, like all the other stuff, like Shots, and just fun, upbeat, like turn your brain off and just enjoy music.
Was that when you were like in the midst of your DJing?
No, I was. That was about the time we were about to have our first kid, and I had picked up an extra gig. I was over at a different radio group, and the 102.5 was one of the stations, WFMF. And there was this appearance you could have every week, and nobody ever wanted the gig, where you'd go to the Varsity and you'd take pictures on a Saturday night and post them up on the website. And this was early stages of social media, right? 05, 06, 07. It was the early stages of social media. I should say 06 and 07. I didn't pick up the gig till 06. What up, yo? Hey! Heard you got a smart kid. National Merit semifinalist? Nice. Good Lord. That's awesome, though. So you can take it again to get it right? Oh, I thought you were talking about an SAT score. Okay. Yeah. Ah, okay. Well, is he going to take the SAT again just for the SAT's sake? No? All right. Going to Michigan. Okay. Yeah. It's a lot to be. Christy texted me that she's been going through the list and whatnot. And she's like, "Tell Scott congrats." Like, damn. All good. All good. Only up from there. No. So yeah, I was looking for extra money and was just turning full time over at Clear Channel, working for the News Talk and the Sports Talk station, and the FMF had this thing. Nobody wanted to do it. It was the early stages of social media. So you go out, you'd take pictures, you'd post the pictures to your website. People would go to your website, click on the picture, and then save it back to their Facebook. Yeah, I mean, it was very convoluted, but it worked. So I started doing it, and it turned into a friggin' party. And, oh, yeah. And it was like right at that time when all that stuff was coming out. And yeah. .856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane. Got one segment to go here before we hand off to the Fox News Rundown. We got one more cut from Ask the Governor from yesterday we're going to get to in just a minute. I do have some housekeeping first. Oh, first of all, whoa, I've almost let the day go by without asking you how you slept last night. And the reason I ask you every day how you slept is because I like telling folks about the team over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. How old is your mattress? How lumpy is your mattress? How dirty is your mattress? If you're not getting a good night's sleep, you're not going to be productive during the day. And that's going to have so many different repercussions. The difference between having a new mattress, a good mattress, a mattress that's just right for you versus not is literally the difference between night and day. And Mitch can help you out. In Mid-City, you'll find him at 4065 Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Houchettou in the southeastern corner of the parish. If you haven't checked out the cooling gel, and a lot of folks that just went without power know all about this now, if you haven't checked out the cooling gel, you need to. If you haven't checked out the hybrid mattress, same principle, you need to. 4065 Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Houchettou for the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. All right. Inevitably, when you open up the phone lines, let's be cut one, Jake. When you open up the phone lines, you never know what's coming. Ask the Governor is the name of the show. The Governor. The executive branch of our state government, the top post in the executive branch of the state government. I'm not even going to play you the answer he gave to this. I'm just going to play you the question. Deborah was in Gretna yesterday.
Thank you, Governor. My question is regarding debris pickup along the Oakwood Canal. I have a property with an enormous oak tree that's down, and after Katrina, people put debris on the backside of their property, which has access to the parish can get in and out through there. I cannot get through to anyone to find out if I can put my debris back there for pickup rather than try and get it through a narrow space in the front of my property.
Yeah, Deborah, I'll be right over. The governor of the state of Louisiana, I'll be right there to pick up your debris. Ask the governor. You have the people contracted to pick up the debris. You have your neighborhood association. You have your city council. You have your parish government. Gretna's in Jefferson Parish. You have your parish government. You have so many steps along the way. You've called the governor for debris pickup on Oakwood Canal? Tell me she doesn't sound like the person who just instantly asks to speak to the manager. I don't even want to speak to them. I want to speak to corporate. I want to talk with the CEO. Unacceptable. Oh, the level of patience. The level of patience you have to have. Yeah, no, nobody's picked up your branches yet, Deborah. Call the governor about it. You know, if I was Governor John Bell Edwards, my answer to that question would have been, let me put you on hold. I'll get Joe Biden on the line. We'll see if we can't get the head of the UN in on this. Fox News Rundown's next. Thanks for listening. YouTube, I don't know what to say. I mean, how do you do that? It would never cross my mind to call the governor of the state of Louisiana. I got a bunch of branches over here and a spare tire. And my toaster isn't toasting on both sides. Can you help? Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.